Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me the pleasure of now presenting our next speaker, who comes from the standpoint of one of the most successful companies out of Silicon Valley today, as he discusses disruption, digitalization, and future crafting for success. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Harry Moseley, Global Chief Information Officer of Zoom Video Communications USA, together with Mr. Raymond Siva, CMO of MDEC, who will be moderating the session. Mr. Raymond, take it away.
Good morning, and thank you for your patience for this trip. You know, all good things come to those who wait. I hear Harry.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
It's a good morning for us, and how's the evening there for you?
It's been fine. I had dinner with my wife, watched a little TV, took the dog for a walk, and here I am.
A fantastic start then. You know, Harry, we spoke last week, and you know, I was working from home. You were working a cocktail. You know, how things have changed over the last 7 months. You know, perhaps you can give us a flavor of how things have been for Zoom. I mean, from January this year till now, there must have been some massive, significant impact on your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I think that, you know, so there's many ways I could characterize it, Raymond. But let me sort of go back to March of 2018, so a little over 2.5 years ago when I joined Zoom. I joined Zoom with 800 employees, headquarters in San Jose, sort of well known in the tech industry, kind of known in the US, not that well known in Europe, and hardly known in Asia Pacific. That was March of 2018. Then you fast forward to March of 2020, and everybody in the world now knows Zoom. You know, from a kindergartner at 6 years of age all the way up to a senior citizen of 86 years of age, everybody knows Zoom everywhere in the world, on all the continents. When we look at the growth trajectory that we've been on, you know, we in December of 2019, almost a year ago now, we were hosting 10 million daily participants on the platform. And as of April, we were hosting 300 million, 30 times the growth. Another metric that we look at is the annualized meeting minutes that we processed. In January of this year, so 10 months ago, we were processing 100 billion annualized meeting minutes. And then in April, we went to 2 trillion annualized meeting minutes, and in October, 3 trillion annualized meeting minutes, which is, you know, phenomenal growth. And lastly, you know, we're, you know, as of Q2, we had over 3,400 employees. Our revenue was 663.5 million, which represents a 355% year-on-year growth. So it's been you know, quite an astonishing year for Zoom.
So just give me a sense of where does this growth come from? I mean, do you see that mostly in the States or in other Europe, ASEAN? Just want to get a sense of how this work from home has developed and what do you see from your point of view, from your vantage point?
Yeah. So, so Zoom, you know, what are we about? We're about, you know, what's our vision? Our vision is empowering people to accomplish more. And that applies to everybody, you know, whether it's global enterprises, whether it's governments running their countries, or whether it's education, schools, higher education, etc. We now host over 125,000 schools in 25 countries on the Zoom platform. And we're all about connecting people, and that's where the growth has come from. But then, you know, when we had the stay at home across the planet, people then gravitated to Zoom for connecting with their family, connecting with their friends, and then, you know, whether it's yoga classes or, you know, music classes or cooking classes, they gravitated towards Zoom. And the reason that they gravitated towards Zoom, Raymond, is because Zoom, you know, was founded on 5 core principles. And, you know, one of those is the ease of use. As we say, you know, as everybody says, Zoom, it just works. It's really easy. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. You click the link, bingo, monitor comes on, The video is on. The audio is crystal clear because of our proprietary software. Two is because of the ease of use. You don't, it's easy to navigate, easy to use, easy to share content, platform agnostic, iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, Linux, VDI, web. The third is because of our incredible reliability. We went through this amazing elliptical growth, and we still maintained our service levels at 4 nines. We still maintained our customer satisfaction. We still maintained our Net Promoter Score. The fourth reason is because of Zoom. What are we known for besides all these things? We're known about innovating at speed and scale. We were the first to introduce virtual backgrounds. We introduced video virtual backgrounds. Now we introduce content as your virtual background. So I can present and it's like I'm actually in the conference room with the screen behind me. And fifthly, about our privacy and security. We made a declaration to the world in April that we were going to raise the bar around privacy and security.
Yep.
And testament to that is our recent release of our end-to-end encrypted service, which is, we believe, the first of its kind with size and scale. And that's available not just to our paid users, but also our free users.
Right. So talk to me a little bit about see, what is interesting is that, you were saying that Zoom was there at the right time, right? At the right moment in the world history. And these are like pivotal moments for some brands throughout the years. So perhaps you could just tell us how the thought for Zoom came up. If you have access to that information, number one. And number two, what are really the values? So you talked to me about the 5 things that Zoom is known for. Well, what is the values of Zoom? So how did it start? And what is the values that Zoom is now based on?
Yeah, so the vision for Zoom comes from Eric Yuan, our CEO and founder. A terrific guy, very humble. And frequently when we talk about Zoom as a love story. Why do we call it a love story? Because when Eric Yuan was a young man growing up in China, he used to travel on the train to go and see his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife. He used to spend 10 hours on the train.
Right.
And he was always saying to himself, there must be a better way to connect with people other than having to travel. And that's kind of like one of the catalysts for Zoom. The second was when Eric came to the States, he joined WebEx. He was the number 8 programmer at WebEx in 1997. And ultimately, they went public and then got acquired by Cisco. And in 2011, Eric said to John Chambers, I built this WebEx platform, but now it's the technology stack has changed.
Right.
It's a mobile first world and it's a video first world. Video is the new voice.
Right.
And so whilst WebEx is great, we need to rebuild it now. And Chambers said no, so Eric quit and formed Zoom. And so that's the backdrop to the first part of your question. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
What are the values that Zoom
is? Yeah. So it's the values are all about connecting people with
Right.
quality and reliability and ease of use anywhere at any time. And when you look at our platform, Raymond, it's not just meetings like one-on-one or you and your team meeting, but it's also our chat platform, ability to collaborate in real time with people. It's also our Zoom phone platform, which allows you to make audio calls over the Zoom platform, now natively in 40 plus countries around the world. And with our Zoom phone platform, I can make a phone call to you, then we can raise it into video, we can raise it into content sharing, I can be on chat, then I can make a phone call. So it's kind of like you've got this ability for this true unified communications platform. And that's the value proposition that the global enterprises and the governments and the education sector see from the Zoom platform. It's all of these things together. It's, again, it goes back to what I said a moment ago. Zoom, it just works.
Right. It's interesting, right? There's a couple of volume.
Hello?
Yeah. Come here. Hello? Volume. Just lost the voice there for a minute.
You good?
Yeah, I got you back on.
Okay.
So, we looked at it 6 months ago. We were asking our employers, can we please work from home? It's not safe to go to office. And now things have changed tremendously, right? We don't want to work for a company. We are thinking twice about working for a company that doesn't allow work from home, right? So we don't need permission to work from home. But that's only maybe true for as long as the lockdown holds, or for as long as this pandemic goes on. What are your views then past this? Because the vaccine is probably about, we don't know how far the vaccine is away, right? But this can't go on for forever. What are some of the plans right now? Where do you see the changes happening in the workforce, and what does Zoom plan?
Yeah. And that's a great point that you bring up, Raymond. It's like, earlier, so at the beginning of 2020, employees had to request permission to work from home. Now employees have to request permission to work from the office. So it's 180, it's true, it's 180 degrees reversed.
Yep.
And, so when I think about sort of the future, a couple of things. One is, we need to reflect a little bit on the past. In the past, we built these amazing collaboration spaces where, and we packed people in, so it was really dense. Yeah. Now we have to, and we used to travel extensively, right? And then suddenly, like in February, March, depending where you were in the world, somebody held up like the big stop sign. It's kind of like, stop what you're doing, work, stay in place, stay at home, work from home, etc., where you can. And I think I believe a lot of people have been rethinking things, which is really critical, because when you look at a process, it's kind of like, when the process is, going at 100 miles an hour, everything's going past you and you just continue to. I used to be on 3 or 4 flights a week.
Yeah.
I went 1.5 times around the world in 7 days. That's really hard to do. The only time I hit a hotel was to go and have a shower and get dressed for my next meeting. But in March, suddenly this big stop sign went up, and I was here, and so as were millions, hundreds of millions of people around the world, and people have now figured out, you know what? I don't need to do that. I can be as effective. I can actually be more effective not doing what I used to do. Because now they've found that video is the new voice. Also, it's kind of like, employees are happier working from home. Yes, they'd love to have their kids back in school. It would make it much easier. But it's also been proven that employees, don't miss the daily commute. They don't miss the daily grind of having to get on the train or the bus or the drive to go to the office. They miss, sort of seeing their colleagues, but they don't need to see them 5 days a week. They can be in the office for maybe 2 days a week, right, and the other 3 days a week. So they have much better work-life balance, and they're happier. And the employers, are looking at it from the perspective of, well, right now we have to de-densify our space. We can't have as many people back in the office. So they kind of like it. And they see people working from home very successfully, very productively. And so many employers are thinking about their real estate footprints, and maybe they don't need all this real estate. I was talking to a client today who's rethinking their corporate office strategy. And when leases come up for expiration, for renewal, not renewing them. Right. So, it's, so I think, so organizations are rethinking everything. And the last point is that, sort of coronavirus has essentially sort of been a catalyst to digital transformation. Organizations went through this rapid change really fast, rapid decision-making really fast. And now they're really doubling down on this digital transformation effort. And I think finally people understand what digital transformation really means. Because I think up until recently, it was ask 10 people, what is digital transformation? You'll get 11 answers. And they're all right.
Right. Right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Harry,
Sorry, I said last point, but my last point is I think that fundamentally that this model is here to stay, where you're going to have a portion of people in the office, but it'll be the minority of people in the office and the majority working, not necessarily from home, but working from anywhere.
so you bring up a good point, right? I mean, just looking at the acceleration in your business, there would have been, I suppose, an acceleration in the head count that has been needed across the world for Zoom, right? So, talk to us a little bit about how do you scale up, right?
Are you finished with your question?
Yeah.
How do we? Yeah. So yes, there has been, sort of a rush in terms of hiring people. Fortunately, we're a great brand. Fortunately, we're a very attractive company. Fortunately, we're a growing company, and so there's a lot of people are applying for jobs at Zoom. So that's good. On the other hand, it makes the challenge of hiring people really hard because you've got to sort of sift through all these resumes and find the right people. But we've got a great recruiting team, and we've grown globally. We have operations in Malaysia, we have operations in Tokyo, we got operations in Australia, in Amsterdam, in Frankfurt, in Paris, London, obviously in New York and Denver and Kansas, and clearly San Jose. So, and we're a global company with global operations, global support, global management, etc. So, yeah, so it's been good.
What is the hardest skill set to find? I mean, what are you looking for in Zoom? Right? I mean, you guys are now one of the most valuable companies in the world. What particular skill sets would you say is required? The hard skills, as well as a soft skill that companies such yourselves are looking for.
Yeah, I think on the soft skills side, it's all about sort of the cultural fit.
Mm-hmm.
We're a very humble organization. We don't have room for egotistical people, so it's kind of like we're very collaborative. It's kind of sort of a phrase that comes to mind is like leave your egos at the door when you come to work. It's not about your title. It's not about who you report to. It's like we have one mission. We all work for Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
and our mission is about empowering people to accomplish more.
Right.
That's we think of our clients as partners, and we're all about our partners being successful using our platform. Nothing can get in the way of that happening. We are passionate about our clients, passionate about success for them. So I think that's on one side. Then, on the skills side, it's like, Raymond, that's really hard because it's all across the board, whether it's on the technology side, whether it's on the operations side, whether it's on the security side, finance, HR, legal, and of course our sales and support. So there's a whole myriad. I mean, we're a pretty large organization at this point. We're 9 years old, over 3,400 employees around the world. And every day adding more, so it's pretty exciting and very humbling.
You've got a fantastic track record. You've done banking, you've done tech companies, you've done consultancies. You've built teams very successfully. What would be some of your key advice if there are three things you're going to talk to companies in these parts of the world, Asia, and we're very hungry. We want to look at what the Apples of the world are doing, Zoom is doing. What would be the three things you would talk to founders or leaders of companies in this part? What should they focus on in these times?
Certainly clients, sort of frequent and constant outreach to clients, being connecting with their clients. I think that's sort of like number one. Two is connecting with your employees. When I see how Eric, I think Eric, I don't know how he does this, but he sort of spends like, 100% of his time focusing on clients and 100% of his time focusing on the employees. It's rather fascinating. I mean, this man is amazing. I don't know when he ever sleeps. I don't know if he does sleep actually, but having that maniacal focus on the clients and the employees and being super open, being super transparent to the degree that you can. I mean, when we were a private company, we were, we shared more information internally, but now that we're a large public company, you have to have, there's certain guardrails that you have to put up. But being as transparent as you can. One of the things that Eric does is we have like every 2 weeks, we have an all hands meeting for all employees around the world. Every employee gets to post their questions. Every question gets answered. Every question gets owned by a member of the executive team. The call gets recorded and shared with those employees that were, sort of sleeping at the time. So I think that, sort of from a CEO and founder perspective, that will be, sort of several points of advice. The other is sort of on the personal side, and I think that sort of goes beyond the CEO and founder. I think it applies to people in general from a career perspective, which is number one is kind of, sort of establish your own personal board of directors. So establish like a set of people that, sort of are in your inner circle, not necessarily who work for the same company as you, because these are people that you have complete trust for, that when you have a question about your career, the company, your thoughts, an issue, you can go to that personal board, not together, but sort of on a case-by-case basis and ask them for their advice. I think that's sort of super important.
Right.
Two is, sort of make sure that you're always helping people. Even if you're not asked, offer the help people be successful.
Yep.
And for no other reason than you can, because one day that may return. So it's, I believe it's fundamentally helpful. And the last point is make sure you're having fun. Seriously. If you don't wake up in the morning, and this doesn't apply to everybody, because unfortunately not everybody can be this fortunate, but you need to wake up in the morning. You need to be excited about what you're going to do. You need to enjoy what you're going to do. You need to like what you're going to do. You need to like the people that you're going to work with. Right. And again, not everybody can accomplish this. I know that. But to the degree that you can sort of hit 3 or 4 of those things, if not all of them, because if you don't love what you do, if you don't like what you're doing, if you don't enjoy the people you're working with, it's going to be hard.
Absolutely correct. I just want to get something off from what you said earlier on. So, transparency, radical transparency is what we talk about, because you really can't keep anything under wraps nowadays. So radical transparency and empathy. So, I saw Eric on CNN when there was privacy issues around Zoom months ago, right? And he came out and he addressed those issues. I think it was a very strong grill by the CNN anchor. But he went for it, right? And he promised and said, listen, give us about a week or two. We're going to come back. We're going to get better. We're not going to go down, on this basis. So, I really appreciated the transparency in the leadership, especially in times of crisis, where you step up and you address the elephant in the room, right? You go out and say what needs to be done.
And you just take it head on.
Right, absolutely.
And don't try to deflect it. Don't try to shrug it off.
Yeah. And I thought empathy was also important, where you talk from the customer's point of view, right? You understand that they were also a little bit worried about what's going on, with privacy and so on, especially when the kids on Zoom at schools and so on. I think empathy, being to empathize also with your customers in terms of what's going on right now, it's a crucial trait to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, looking into your Zoom ball, in lack of a crystal ball, what do you see in front of us over the next 6 months, 1 year? What's this next normal or new normal looking like?
So I got a lot of thoughts around that. So I'll try and be brief. So first of all, we're going to enter the we're going to enter a work model that's very much a hybrid work model. That's a fact. You're going to have a portion of your employees in the office. You're going to have a portion working from home. So there's going to be a lot of new challenges that come to the table. How do you collaborate across this digital divide, and how do you maintain culture across this digital divide? And so, in both of those, Zoom has already begun efforts in terms of, how do we collaborate? We introducing whiteboard templates. We're introducing the notion that I can whiteboard with you today, and a week later we can bring back that whiteboard in a digital fashion. That's pretty cool stuff. It's I'm sure, Raymond, this never happened to you where you were in a conference room with a colleague and you were whiteboarding, and then you took a photograph of the whiteboard, or you put a note on the whiteboard, "Do not erase." So, right? It's like, yes, so I know you did. Okay, good. So, and then culture. It's like, how do you maintain? And then it gets erased. No. And then culture. How do you maintain culture across the digital divide? When you're onboarding, employees, you can onboard employees pretty easy. You can onboard them. You can get them their rights. You can get them access to the systems, and you can train them. But culture in the onboarding process is radically different. How do they meet the people who run the company? How do they meet their colleagues?
Yeah.
And so I think with both on the collaboration side and the culture side, we're going to see great innovations coming from things like artificial intelligence, where AI is looking at the people that have onboarded recently, and they come to you and say, "Hey, Raymond, as the chief marketing officer, here's 5 people I think you should meet that have joined your company in the last week. Would you like me to set up, a coffee break for you with them?" "Oh, that's a good idea." You click yes, and bingo, AI goes off, looks at your calendar, sets it up, gets coffee for you guys and stuff like that. I think we're going to see, sort of a lot more in the machine learning, the augmented reality and the virtual reality space. I read about a company recently that's using, a virtual reality set to sort of onboard employees so that they can be in the room, in a virtual room, and they can turn around and see other people, and they can't touch them, obviously. They can't shake hands, but they can have that. They're trying to create that sort of bump in moment where they bump into people in the room. I do believe that sort of that the work model has changed literally forever. I think that there's a great acceleration going on, as I mentioned before, in this digital transformation. I was reading recently how in manufacturing they are looking at 3D printing as a way to enhance the ability of people to actually work from home. So that's kind of great. And digital acceleration, I think we're going to see great new opportunities opening up. When you reflect on the last 12 months, the last 24 months of some of the innovations we've seen, it's been rather remarkable. I think we're going to see sort of true acceleration in this space too.
Yeah, I think there'll also be, social studies regarding, when you say working from home and working in the office, not necessarily having the, after work happy hours to go out with your colleagues, but spending more time with families. There's going to be some behavioral changes around that basis as well. I think it'll lend to increased maybe opportunities to try your passion now. You have more time on your hands to do other things. So I think there's a lot of new things that are coming up, and I'm sure that Zoom is going to be in the middle of it. Master class perhaps, where people can use Zoom and share their passion with others throughout the world.
I think the human race, I think we both agree, the human race is very resilient. Yes, COVID-19, no one expected it, caught the whole world by surprise, but, there will be a vaccine. The immunity will take on, and, we're going to find, the human race will find a way to work through this. I think people miss out on. I think people miss out on the ability to sort of see their colleagues in an in-person experience, but they don't particularly want that anymore on a 5-day-week basis, 2 or 3 days.
Right.
I think where people, quite honestly, Raymond, I think where people are hurting the most as a consequence of the coronavirus and the social aspect of not being able to go to a restaurant, go to a bar, go to a movie, go to the gym,
Right.
see their family. You know, when my daughter comes to visit, you know, she comes probably like twice a month. She lives about 4 hours from here. You know, I can't hug her. That's weird. You know,
Right, yeah.
my father-in-law lives 25 miles from where we live, and my wife can't give her dad a hug.
Right.
That's weird. It's kind of like, you know, we miss those things desperately. It's like going for dinner with your friends, having people in your home, celebrating birthdays, major milestones. I think all these social aspects, I think these are the, you know, when you look at sort of the, you know, kids in elementary school, you know, what are they learning when they're 6 and 8? Yes, they're learning the alphabet and they're learning, you know, basic mathematics, but they're learning how to learn. They're learning social skills, and that's being taken away from them, and that hurts a lot.
Yeah.
So the sooner we can get stuff like that back, I think the world will start to, you know, start to recover from the, you know, start to heal from what we've been through.
You know,
But it's going to be it's going to be a while. It's going to be a
just
while.
as we get to the end of it, you know, talking about connecting, when was the last time you were in Malaysia or in ASEAN? You know, we have ambitions to be the heart of digital ASEAN. Zoom is in Malaysia. What are your plans to come visit or you know, grow the business in ASEAN through Malaysia?
Yes, well, we already have you know, successful operations running out of Malaysia. I don't know the number of people, but Malaysia is a great resource, and you know, in prior roles, I used you know, sort of organizations based in Malaysia. Never been there. As I said to one of your colleagues earlier, it is definitely on my list. You have beautiful beaches, beautiful resorts, beautiful people. So absolutely.
Standing invitation. Yeah.
What's that?
Standing invitation for you to come, and when this is over.
I appreciate that, and trust me, it's like, you know, I am itching to, you know, go on a nice vacation.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
In the meantime, you can put a Malaysian beach in your backdrop in Zoom. We'll send you a photo.
Well, here, so I can do this. So let's have can we have a little fun? We can have a little fun, right?
Of course we can.
So here I am on the beach, and of course it's very sunny, so I need to put on my sunglasses. How's that?
We got the event backdrop for you. You can't go past that now.
I can't go past that. Okay, so I'll have to get rid of that. Okay, so let me go back to normal. We don't want to upset the organizers. But, I'm known for doing it, you know, sort of stepping
there
outside of the normal.
You got a coconut tree on the beach right there, man. That's looking good. All you're missing now is a virgin pina colada.
Yeah, well, it's time for me to start thinking about getting a little shut-eye, because I got to get up and, you know, do this again tomorrow. So it's great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Harry, it's been wonderful chatting with you. Thank you so much for making time. I apologize for my tardiness. Had to take some business early on.
No, Raymond, not a problem. When God made time, He made plenty of it. So, you know, and there's no. A few minutes late, it's never the end of the world. It's like, you know, there's so many things we've learned over the last 9 months. Yeah. You know, it's I remember reading an article, I think it was in April, which talked about, the headline was "Social distancing, you must be joking." You know, I now know more about my colleagues than I ever thought possible. I've been in their homes, I've been in their kitchens, their living rooms, their dining rooms, their family rooms. I've been in some bedrooms, I've even been in some bathrooms. You know, I've met their kids, I've met their grandparents, I've met their uncles, their aunts, I've met their dogs, their cats, I've even met some snakes. And, you know, all of these things make for a much better relationship of the employees. Yeah. Because it takes all that friction out. It takes, like, I'll tell you one of the stories. I've had so many amazing experiences. I was on a board meeting, and the CEO was in the middle of making his presentation, and his wife comes into his office and says, "I need you to hold the baby." And he goes, "Sweetheart, I'm in the middle of a board presentation. She goes, that's an answer to a different question. Hold the baby. So now he's holding the baby and he continues with his board presentation. Nobody says anything. I mean, how many times have you seen the cat tail go past or the dog barking in the background? Nobody says anything. These are, it's, you know why? Because it's like, these are just normal things because we're normal human beings. We've all got red blood. We've all got families and we got interruptions and they're perfectly fine.
Well, thank you to Zoom for bringing us all together. Would not have been possible, you know, in this tough times without technology such as yours and the others. More yours right now. Again, thank you so much for your time, Harry.
Thank you, Raymond, and I wish you, all your colleagues, and everybody in Malaysia. Wish you all to continue to be safe, stay healthy, and if I can help anybody in any way, shape, or form from a Zoom perspective, they should feel free to reach out to me. It's harry.moseley@zoom.us. So,
Harry, thank you for your generosity and your time and your honest sharing. Yeah, stay safe. Have a great day. Yeah, hope to see you real soon.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you take care.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moseley and Mr. Raymond, for the remarkable insights that were shared, giving us a lot to ponder about. Now, surely the age of disruption is quite a time to be alive and to hear firsthand on how to brave through it from one of the most renowned global CIOs is indeed invigorating. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will begin our next session very soon. As always, do click on the Join Session tab to join us. And we'll begin very shortly. To those tuning in via our Facebook page, just hang in there. We will see you very, very soon.